Hey guys, Level Cap here. Today I've got some random weapons from Battlefield 4, ones that I haven't covered before. I also have some interesting gadgets like the remote mortar. We're going to see what flashbangs look like when you get hit by them. The first gun we're starting off here is the UTS-15. Now this is a really interesting shotgun. It can hold 15 rounds and it's pump action. So I set it up with some slug shots. It's got a laser pointer on there for better hip fire accuracy. And I thought this gun was going to be the absolute best thing ever because it's pump shotgun, so I thought if they give it the pump shotgun damage model with 15 rounds, it would absolutely dominate every other pump shotgun. Little did I know DICE knows how to balance weapons, and they went ahead and basically made it so that slug rounds are not going to be a one-shot kill, at least at distances that I was hitting people at. So the UTS-15, very interesting gun. I'm sure there's a way that this can be outfitted to be very effective. As you can see, you reload the weapon on either side, which is very interesting. Looks like it's probably going to take a little bit longer to reload than your average shotgun. Now I know I'm missing some easy shots here. Part of that is because the sensitivity was super weird when I was playing BF4 at EA. Also, we were playing at 30 frames per second because we were recording with Fraps. So didn't have the greatest setup in terms of like what I'm used to, but then again neither did my opponents. Now the gun I'm using here is the DBV-12. This is basically the AK-12 platform. And it's a magazine-fed semi-auto shotgun. Very much like the Saiga 12, have to play around with it more to try and figure out what the differences are, but I have to say I was enjoying it a bit. The funny thing about this weapon is that it looks just like the AK-12, the AKU-12, the SVD-12, and then there's a shotgun version of it as well. So that's going to make it a little bit tricky to perhaps identify the weapon that your opponent has, considering that there's 4 guns with the 12 after them that all look just about identical. Now I'm playing the Recon class, throwing my little motion sensor balls around to try and locate the enemies, and I'm using the Hawk 12 gauge shotgun with slug rounds. Now I think this is going to be an extremely popular shotgun because you have the pump action damage model of a one-shot kill with slug rounds, buckshot in close quarters, and instead of having to individually reload your shots, you have a magazine-fed pump action shotgun. This is a new thing in Battlefield. I enjoyed the heck out of it while I was playing with it, and I'm sure people are going to find ways to be incredibly lethal with this. I just love the idea of a pump action shotgun that has a magazine feed instead of the individual shots. Now, I was running out of time while playing the Battlefield 4 beta at EA LA. My plan was initially to try and play with every single gun and get footage of every single gun. Towards the end of the day I realized I wasn't going to be able to do that, so I started playing with the weapons that I was curious about, wanted to know more about. This is the AKU-12. I basically wanted to see what gun was replacing the AKS-74U. This is it right here. It seems like it plays pretty similarly. I'm running it with a laser sight on there, a angled foregrip to reduce recoil, and I was having a fun time hip firing this little gun. It's powerful, seems to fire at a pretty decent rate, and I think it's going to be very popular. Again, another one of the AK-12 style weapons. Looks very similar to all the other ones out there. And speaking of similar looking weapons, here's the ACE-52. This is basically the kind of the Scar H equivalent from Battlefield 3. It's a carbine, shoots heavier rounds. It only has 26 rounds in a magazine, and it looks identical to every other ACE gun in the game, despite having a slightly longer or shorter barrel. I really wanted to see what this gun was like because it shoots heavier rounds, it does more damage per shot, and I gotta say, I was having an easy time dropping people at range. Generally speaking, I was using heavy barrels for the carbines, angled foregrips to help me control some of the recoil, and then red dot sights. Now I'm going to switch over to a different carbine here, but I want to see if you guys can actually tell the difference visually. This one here is the ACE-21. It has 36 rounds in a magazine, shoots a little bit faster, hits a little bit lighter. Basically a very similar platform, it just works a little bit differently. So visually, almost identical to the one before. I was having a lot of fun with it though. The recoil was pretty easy to control, and as you can see from these clips here, I was having a pretty easy time dropping people at range. Now, it was very apparent from my limited playtime that carbines are going to be an extremely popular weapon platform, so get to know them well because you're going to have them available to you for all classes in the game. The Recon class, I have a feeling, is going to make extremely good use of these carbines here, because combining anything with those motion sensor balls and then some of those new field upgrades for the Spec Ops class, you're going to have an absolutely brutal class to work with, and also function just as safety weapons for other classes. You don't want to run a machine gun with support, pick up a carbine, run with your favorite carbine. Now I had to know what was replacing the SVD, and that's the SVD-12. Again, another AK-12 platform. You're probably tired of seeing guns that look like this, but I just had to know what it was like. And it functions very much like the SVD. You'll notice that it's actually had a magazine upgrade, as have pretty much all of the semi-automatic sniper rifles out there, the DMRs as they are now classified. This weapon really does seem to be on par with how the old school SVD seemed to perform. You have more shots now, so you can spam fire a bit more. Not sure if it was just in my head, but it feels like it might hit a little bit weaker than the one before. I did feel like I had to hit people tiny bit more to drop them. Now, as much as I appreciate DICE really researching all the latest and greatest rifles and getting AK-12s into the game, even though they really haven't entered a big production phase, I would love to see some of the old school weapons too. I'm sure nobody would mind seeing the AK-74U back in the game, the SVD, an AK-47. You know, there's no harm in having the old school guns, especially considering that most armies still use these older weapons because they're still very effective and they haven't broken down. Alright, you're finally gonna get to see me pick up a bolt-action sniper rifle. This is the CS-LR4 Chinese bolt-action sniper rifle. Get a shot there. Kind of a cool looking gun. I like the sort of modern appeal to it. Now, the one bolt-action sniper rifle that I really did want to get some footage with was the SRR-61. This is just a unique looking sniper rifle, very futuristic, and by stat-wise, having looked at it, it looked like it was going to be a very good sniper rifle. Now, unfortunately, the rangefinder wasn't working in the particular build I was using here, so you won't see it there. But as you can see, it's a very, very cool looking weapon. Now, again, I had limited time to play the game, but I will say that flashbangs quickly became one of my favorite weapons. This is what it looks like to get hit by an enemy flashbang. In fact, this is what it looks like to get hit by 3 enemy flashbangs. Want to know what it looks like to get hit by 4 enemy flashbangs in a row? There you go right there. I have a feeling a lot of people are going to find flashbangs much more useful than frag grenades. Alright, lastly we've got some footage of the remote mortar. Now this thing was incredibly effective while I was playing it. In fact, it was so effective that myself and Dasgro felt like we needed to tell some of the devs that it was a little bit overpowered. Luckily, Demise was there and he listened to our requests. I think this thing is going to get a bit of a change in final release, because you'll see here the amount of shots I'm able to put out like so quickly and able to pinpoint targets so quickly from a mortar that's just remote. So at any point as I'm playing as a support player, I can just start raining down artillery fire just by bringing up a little PDA. It was incredibly effective while we were playing. I didn't use it too much, but in the limited time I did use it, I was able to rack up some kills. Now, not to bring out the Nerf hammer this early in the dev process, but I gotta say, if it entered the game in its current state, it would be an absolute game breaker for rush game modes. Imagine 64 players. Even as many as 2 or 3 people using this thing would be a nightmare. Now think of 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 people using this, and you guys get the picture. Anyway, this pretty much wraps it up for my footage right now. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you found this interesting, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.